I, Grofeld Coated, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Redmont for the people. So help me, staff.
Can you hear me in the voice chat now? So thank you. I have been speaking. It has been on my screen showing. Oh my God! Who just... Okay, so we're back. We are back. So Scassini, I understand there has recently been a disruption, but nonetheless, I'm going to ask you to repeat after me, which is as follows. Repeat after me. So please repeat after me. I, Scassini, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Redmont for the people, so help me staff. Congratulations and welcome to our chamber. All right, so who's next? Who next would like to be sworn in? I am seeing Swami throwing up a thing. So Swami, come down to the floor, please. Please repeat after me. I, Swami, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Redmont for the people. So help me staff. Congratulations, Swami, and welcome to the House of Representatives. You are now sworn in. All right, who's next? I'm going to call down. Did we lose quorum? I'm going to count down Nova Kerbal to take swearing in. So Nova, please make your way down the well of the chamber, and please repeat after me. that I, Nova Curval, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Redmont for the people, so help me staff. All right. Congratulations, Nova Curval. Thank you and welcome. All right, so that was Nova. Now, Rookie Blue, please come down to the well of the chamber. Please repeat after me. That I, Rookie Blue, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Redmont for the people, so help me staff. Congratulations, Rookie Blue 14. You are now sworn in. Welcome to our chamber. Zelost, you are free to come down to the well of the chamber so I can swear you in. All right, thank you, Zelost. You are now sworn in. Is there anybody else who I have not yet sworn in who is present today? Oh, Alicia, yes, you're a clerk. Come down to the well of the chamber. I am so sorry. I had forgotten about this. All right, please repeat after me. Rin. Alicia, can you type so I can see your full name, just so the text is Lysia-Cryn. Okay. I, Alicia Cryn, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Redmont for the people. So help me stay out. Congratulations, you are hereby sworn in as a clerk. Please return to your seat. So at this time, we do have a quorum. So we're going to move into business. That is to say, we are going to discuss some bills. So does anybody have a bill that they'd like to bring to the floor first? Nobody has a bill. I am letting the House decide in terms of things. I know there has been a few bills that have been moved up to the Senate recently, so there's not a tremendous amount of backlog this time, at least not like last time. So let's get started, if nothing else, on... We're going to go in reverse order. So the one that was posted the least recently will be the ones that we discussed today. So The Perjury Not So Quick Fix Act, I am going to open debate on it for 15 minutes about. Speakers will have a minute and a half to speak in favor or in opposition. I will allow the proposer of the bill either the right to speak first or the right to speak last at their choosing. If you do not wish to speak in voice chat, one of us will, it's probably going to be me this time, will read out your response for the audience so that this way you are able to still be represented in voice chat. So in that case, I am going to ask Smami, who is the proposer of the Perjury Not So Quick Fix Act, do you wish to speak first or last? And if you'd like to speak first, would you like your time now? You'd prefer to speak last. Okay. So I am going to open the floor. Would anybody, if you would like to speak on the Perjury Not So Quick Fix Act, I need you to ping me in local chat. So type at multiman155, and then this way I can add you to like my mental speakers list. And in that way, I will first yield to Girlfail Coded for 1.5 minutes to speak on the Perjury Not So Quick Fix Act. Your time begins now.
This is a very simple act. It only changes a single word in the entire act it's amending. It simply changes perjury from an indictable act to a summary. Um, this essentially. Actually, hold on. This is the complete opposite. Give me just a second. um. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, so essentially what this does is it makes it so perjury can be charged without a full trial. It speeds up the process. This is something that is generally pretty easy to prove, which is why I would support this. Mm, Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you, Girlfail Coded. Rookie Blue, you are now recognized for 1.5 minutes. Again, if anybody wants to speak in VC, you are under no obligation to. If not, but if so, I will pull people into voice chat. Rookie Blue says, I believe updating the perjury offense to a summary offense brings it in line with similar offenses such as contempt of court and contempt of Congress. I have heard, Rookie Blue says, some speak on the need for a trial to prove the intent behind the words spoken during trial. I remind my fellow citizens that you can appeal summary offenses in court, where if there is an issue with intent, it can be proven. The DHS would not start sending these charges out. A judicial officer would make that decision just the same as the other offenses. As such, I believe we should vote in favor of this bill, says Rookie Blue. Rookie Blue yields his remaining time, thanking the speaker. Thank you, Rookie Blue. Would anybody else like to speak on this bill? Seeing none, Oh, that's why Anthony Org isn't here. Anthony Org's in the Senate now. Seeing none, I'm going to speak on the bill. I like it intent. There has been a concern brought up to me by some senators about the knowing component and that it might be a bit difficult to prove knowledge during a summary offense. I sympathize with that to a certain extent. I, however, don't think it's as much of an impediment as one initially may think. Right, prior to the passage of the Criminal Code Act, perjury was routinely charged by judicial officers. There wasn't really a problem with this. It had gone up to the Supreme Court before, and it had been okay. What had changed with the Criminal Code Act is a requirement that only the DOJ prosecute indictable crimes, and for that reason, the Supreme Court recently granted an appeal on a perjury charge that had followed the sort of old process. Now, I am not going to speak further on that one due to personal involvement in a related case legally, but that is sort of how we got here. So I do think I'm probably going to vote aye on this bill. I think that knowledge in certain instances can be proven summarily. You can use past statements, you can use a bunch of things, and ultimately a judicial officer is going to be the one who's issuing this in the first instance. The DHS is not going to be in charge of it. It's going to come from a court, just like contempt of court does. So I am satisfied with protections, provided that there's some way for people to respond to the allegation before it is executed or to appeal it after. And that's present because we have the appeals. So that's all I have on this. And with that, does anybody else wish to speak before I yield to Smami? I have been told Girlfell Coded wants her cat to speak, but her cat is not a representative, so she cannot yield to her cat. Smami, seeing none, Smami, you're going to be the last speaker, and you are recognized for, I have more time, so I'll give you the full 2 minutes to speak. Your time begins now. All right. Smami says, as others have already pointed out, this is a very simple change that doesn't vastly change the process around charging someone with perjury. It simply allows us to streamline the process involved, says Smami. There is very little impact on due process based on the fact that appeals may be filed if one believes the charge false. That is all. Thank you, Smami. I am seeing none others, so I'm going to close debate on this. Smami, do you want me to put the bill up for a vote now? Yes, please, Smami says. The bill shall be going up for a vote. So give me that now. How do you vote? So now the bill, that is the Perjury Not So Quick Fix Act, has been put up for a vote. You have 2 days to vote on it, or until such a time as we get a clear majority. So let me announce that in the house chat. Give me a few seconds. All right, so now that I've pinged all of you about the vote, we're going to move on to our next bill. Our next bill, in order from bottom to top, is going to be the Real Town Rights Amendment Act, which I know is going to probably require a little bit more time. I'm going to designate 25 minutes for debate on this bill. I'm going to give people 2 minutes to speak. I am going to execute my prerogative in reserving my speech for last. So does anybody wish to speak on the Town Rights Amendment, the Real Town Rights Amendment Act? Girlfriend Coda, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
This is a very big act and a very controversial one at that. However, after Multiman put it up, I spent that night helping him work through it to fix some of the issues that had been brought up. One of the major concerns about this bill was how it was going to affect departments, which are naturally at the federal level, and since this gives the towns their own domain that is essentially what they control, that by giving them this power it would interrupt and disrupt the ability for departments to do what they are designed to do. I can say now certainly that this will not affect any departments except where it is intended to. It will affect the DCT, and there is one issue with the DPA in that towns will need to pass a law that allows the DPA to run events in those towns. Not a law, something similar though. Um, but essentially, disregarding that, the bill will not adversely affect any departments. The big concern that a lot of people had was patents. Patents have nothing to do with the town domain. Towns have no influence over patents at all. Cannot create patents, cannot create something similar to patents, nothing like that. Um, to say so is a complete misunderstanding of the bill. There's more that I want to say, but I'm pretty sure I am running up on my time, so I will yield the rest of it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on this bill? Lost, you were recognized for 2 minutes. Free Oak Ridge. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Zelos. I am going to reclaim your time. Would anybody else like to speak on this bill? Anybody? Nova Kerbal shaking your head. No. Anthony Ward, you cannot steal the floor. You left our chamber. Seeing none, I am going to speak, adding myself to the list here. And I have allocated a lot of time, so I will use some of it. Yeah, the basic premise behind this bill is that I wanted to find a sort of happy balance between a Dillon rule municipality and a home rule municipality. For those of you who aren't familiar, a Dillon rule municipality is basically a municipality where towns are enabled in order to do basically only a very limited number, not a very limited number, but anything that is not enumerated in a state law in, let's say, Pennsylvania or something like that, a town cannot do. That is a Dillon rule. Home rule is sort of the inverse, where towns are able to do everything except where a state law might preclude them. So what I did here is I created what we call a town domain, which is sort of an area in which the towns can operate. And in that area, the towns will have a presumption of something along the lines of home rule in the municipal context of the United States. So again, you have them being able to zone and build, them being able to do basic business regulation without, creating financial regulations or things like that. You have jurisdiction over your own municipal public space. They can handle their roads so that we don't have this weird thing where they only have buildings and can't touch the roads. They're able to do some public safety stuff, which was the case before the CCA passed. And they're also able to sort of govern their own officials and to some extent their elections, but with oversight from the Department of State. So I think this creates a happy balance. The happy balance there is that towns are able to do the things that towns need to do, and that there is a presumption that when towns make rules, those rules are actually in effect. And at the same time, if the federal government really doesn't like a town rule and thinks that it is infringing on individual rights or otherwise against public policy, we, the Congress, can pass a law that says, actually, towns, you can't do that. So that is how it's written. That is what it does. It does delegate real power to the towns. It keeps the towns forever alive. You can't really remove them except by the Constitution. And unlike some other bills that have been proposed, executive orders are not going to start overturning town laws. So that is where we are. I think it's a good bill. I'm going to vote aye. I encourage you all to do so, and I encourage you all to talk with your senators to see how we can make sure that we can get this passed before the end of the term, and in particular before we go into our caretaker. So I'm going to be putting it up for a vote, and I'm going to vote aye. Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Right, seeing none, I am going to. I thought this would take more time. Last time we had something like this debated, it did. Oh, yeah, Growflow credit. I'm going to yield you 3 minutes to talk about departments.
Okay, so I would like to actually continue my what I said what I was saying before. So each department naturally has its own domain of sorts. It has its own area of expertise, what it works on. The town domain is, in a way, just another one of those. The town domain gives a specific list of what the town controls, what it is managing, and anything outside of that naturally falls to the federal government. Um, and so it is through that we are able to control what the town is and isn't being enabled to do. Um, so towns would not be able to create, say, entire governments that run parallel to the federal government, which notably is something that staff have vetoed. Um, Towns would not be able to start making their own patents, which not only would staff have to cooperate with that, which they won't because of the aforementioned staff veto, but also because that is simply not part of their domain. This bill would not be giving them that authority, and any attempt to gain that authority would simply be, well, it wouldn't work. Um, some of the other departments that were affected in the first draft but are no longer after revising it was the Department of Health. There was an issue where it was implied that the Department of Health's uh, hospital in Oak Ridge and Aventura would fall under the town domain, which is less than preferable. Um, but we patched that out. Same thing for the animal shelter for the DOI. Um, it is at this point the federal government will not be inhibited by this bill. Despite it giving more responsibilities to towns, the federal government was already allowing towns to do this. And more importantly, it just codifies what the towns were already allowed to do and puts it part of the Constitution. It's not restricting any freedoms, any rights, or any responsibilities that already existed. And that's why I think this bill should be allowed to pass through, should be amended onto the Constitution, and is incredibly important for the future of towns. And that's all. I yield the rest of my time.
All right, thank you, Girlfell Coded. I am going to see if anybody else has interest in speaking. I have put the bill up for a vote during debate, as I said I would do. Seeing none, I am going to give a concluding remark and close debate. I do think this is a very important bill. I think it's important that we get town rights into the Constitution. And I don't need to sell past the close on this, so I'm going to respect all of your times and wrap this up. But I do encourage you all to vote aye, so that this way we can have a sort of concrete town rights and town function in our Constitution in a way that's permanent and in a way that is hard to reverse. So thank you all. And with that, I close debate on the bill. I have put it up for a vote. You all have been pinged. And so you got 2 days to vote on that. Thank you. All right, moving on from the Real Town Rights Amendment Act, we are going to move into our debate on the Illegal Advertising Fix Act, which has been put up by Vernicia. We cannot open voting on this today. Any of the remaining bills that we go through today, we're not going to be able to open voting on because they were put up less than 24 hours ago. But there are 3 of them, one of which is the budget, which I do want to give you guys a bit more time on. So in short, I'm going to open debate for 15 minutes on this Illegal Advertising Fix Act. People are going to have 1.5 minutes to speak. Vernicia, who is the bill's author, is not present. So I'm going to start off with just an explanation of the bill and what it does, and then I'll open to the rest of the floor. So the bill basically just changes illegal advertising penalty from 1 penalty unit to 5 penalty units, and also makes it illegal to advertise gambling. That's it. So that's a summary of the bill. Would anybody like to speak on the bill? Girlfell Coded, I yield you 1.5 minutes.
I'm not sure about this bill. While I do support what it is trying to do, I don't I don't really see a point in specifically calling out gambling institutions or gambling in general in public chat for advertising as that sort of thing, as it's already against the rules of the server. It doesn't need to be part of the law as well. Um, I Additionally, I think it falls under a business because, well, that's kind of how gambling often functions. It functions as a kind of business. I don't even then, even if you did argue that it wasn't a business, I don't know about giving it its own designation in the Criminal Code Act, especially when this act is so specific and namely only covers something that is already illegal by staff rules. So I have to put into question the thought that went into this bill. So while I agree with the idea in principle, I am not sure about the execution. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Girlfell Coded. Next on the speakers list is Skasani, who is going to get 1.5 minutes to speak. Your time begins now. Skassani says, I would just like to add that this bill covers a small oversight in the Gambling Regulation Act, where I have specifically included a section on advertising gambling in advertisement channels, but did not include an amendment to the CCA to punish it. While it is against the staff rules, Skassani says, including it in our laws is another deterrent to people wanting to advertise gambling. And Skassani yields her time back. Thank you, Skassani. I am going to now move to the next on the list, which is Nova Kerbal. Nova Kerbal, you are recognized for a minute and a half. Your time begins now. Oh, I think it's very clear cut what this bill does wrong. I believe that gambling, as decided by staff, is a clear threat to server EULA. We shouldn't legislate on this, as it is a staff issue, and to legislate otherwise may set the wrong precedent, Nova Kerbal says. I worry, says Nova Kerbal, that this may encourage players to think of it as a law issue rather than recognizing it as a rule violation. Thank you, Nova Kerbal says, and yields her time back to the speaker. Thank you, Nova Kerbal. Was there anybody else after Nova Kerbal on the speakers list? Otherwise, I'm going to speak before I yield to Girlfail. So I have received a message from one of the authors of the bill, who is Anthony Org. The basic idea behind it, says Anthony Org, is that it's already against staff rules, but also adds a Commonwealth punishment. Also, as a second point, separately from the gambling change, illegal advertising is $100, which is very low and doesn't really deter most people. But even if we consider the gambling change itself to not be a good idea, Anthony Org would ask that we at least consider the portion of the bill which changes the fine for illegal advertising from $100 to $500. Thank you from the Senate. And to Girlfail, I'm going to yield to you because you said first. After you speak, I'm going to yield back. I'm going to recognize Swami, and then I think we have maybe one speaker after that left. So Girlfail, you're recognized for a minute and a half.
It has come to my attention that after rereading this bill a couple times, I've realized that it specifically says advertising a gambling institution or gambling in a public chat designated for advertising. This means it does not just apply to /ad, which is what the staff rules outlaw. Namely, the advertised channel on Discord does not have any conflict with the EULA when it comes to advertising gambling. And what this would do is make advertising gambling there illegal as well, which is something I do support. That was my one point to really make. I think the formatting of this bill is a mess, but that's less of a quality of the bill in just that the person who posted it did not bother formatting it, and that annoys me. I yield the rest of my time, regardless.
Thank you, Girlfail Coded. Swami, you were recognized for a minute and a half. Smami says, I was going to state pretty much the identical issue as June had brought up. This allows us to extend laws against gambling advertisement to Discord. As that is all I was going to state, thank you. I assume that Smami yields back. Smami yields her time. Okay, so Smami has yielded back. Who is playing the flute? Please stop doing that, or I will remove you from the Congress. So thank you, Swami. I'm going to yield a minute and a half to Nova Kerbal, and then I think that's going to be the last person I have time for. Nova Kerbal, you recognize for a minute and a half. Nova Kerbal says, seeing what the other reps brought up, I will be supporting this bill. I do not support the idea of advertising gambling in Discord, so I'm glad this can address it. That is all, and she yields back. Thank you, Nova Kerbal. I am, with that, going to close debate. I will not begin voting because this bill was posted less than 24 hours ago. As the remainder of the bills today, we are going to discuss war. And the standing orders and LSA prohibit me from doing so. But thank you for this debate. Moving on to appropriations. So this is the budget. I posted it shortly before we began our proceedings here today. I am going to give a brief overview of sort of what it does, and then also open debate for some time. I'm going to speak first on this. So budget here this year, I'm just going to lay it out for you. Not this year, rather this month. Department of State is getting 300,000. I'm not causing a heart attack over there. Department of Homeland Security, 350,000. Department of Justice, 400,000. Department of Commerce, 600,000. Department of Public Affairs, 475,000. DCT, 400,000. Department of Health, 360,000. Department of the Interior, 335,000. Department of Education, 250,000. The president will get 100,000 in reserve. The legislature will again be allocated $100,000. The judiciary $350,000, and the Federal Reserve Bank I have initially penned as $50,000. Budget tracking remains the same requirements. Fiscal accounts remain the same. Amendments we may amend by motion during the fiscal month of November 2025, rather than having to pass a whole new bill. We need to. There's also two special purpose appropriations. So the first is the trade payments for the Department of Education. Those are out to be allocated an additional $450,000 reserved for trade payments to the Department of Education. This is what is called a special purpose appropriation, meaning that $450,000 may not be spent on other things within the Department of Education. Second, there is also the Department of Commerce being allocated $1,750,000 for SOWF funding under the True Economic Redemption Act, with those funds being restricted to SOWF purposes. This roughly reflects what was asked for by the president. There has been obviously a major change with respect to FRB funding at $200,000 versus $50,000, in line with our previous month's decision that we don't want to give them money if they're not doing their jobs. But that's essentially what we have been. Those are the major changes from the president's request. There may be a minor change or typo somewhere. There's a lot of different numbers, but to the best of my knowledge, this accurately reflects those. So that is the that is generally what is going on. That's the overview of the bill. Now that I've given you the overview, I'm going to yield for 2 minutes to Girl Fail Coded so she can discuss the bill. Time begins now.
All right. So, one of the most notable things about this appropriations bill this month is going to be that almost every department is getting a massive cut in their funding, and that's simply because departments haven't been using their money. Um, it's we can lower all of these down quite safely, and if it turns out the department needs more money, we can just give more. Um, the problem is this is locking up a lot of money for the duration of the entire month, and given that it's not being spent, it feels wasteful. Um, like the Department of Education, while a lot of money is coming in and going out, very little of what is being appropriated for it is actually being used, other than for like trade payments. Um, it is that sort of issue that has led to a lot of these price cuts, and I think it's generally positive. I think that none of these slashes have been too serious. These are based on how much money has been historically left over, and roughly how much the department actually needs to function for the month. So I think this is overall positive. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Girl Fail Coded. I am going to yield to Saxani for for 2 minutes. Skassani says, I would like to speak on the acquisition of cash. As the chairwoman of the cash hearing, I will be motioning to amend the bill to include a special purpose funding to purchase cash, and I believe that this will be a big improvement to our financial sector. Even with the upcoming improvements to the economy plugin, the system adds more features and abilities to the FRB to help monitor and improve our financial situation. And I ask those still unsure to read back at the hearing to be convinced to I the purchase. I yield my time back to the speaker. Thank you, Skassani. Would anybody else like to speak on this? Right, seeing none, I will, I guess, give concluding comments. Yeah, I do think the cash acquisition should be a separate vote, but I am happy that we've sort of wrapped that up and that we'll be able to get a final decision here. And with that, I don't see any big questions from the Congress on the funding amounts. I think that we've come to a reasonable consensus on them. The one thing I would have brought up would be the FRB request being 50,000, or us granting them 50,000 versus a $200,000 request. But again, that's not in my head that big a deal when we have previously told them that they needed to show more work in order to get more money. So that's about all that I have. And with that, I'm going to close debate on appropriations. And we're going to move on to our next bill. Again, I'm not putting it up for a vote because it has only been up for about an hour. So, moving off of appropriations, there's one bill that got proposed during the session, which is going to be the Dereliction Fix Part 2 Act by Z Lost. Z Lost, would you like to speak first or last on this bill? Last. Okay. So I am going to this. I have not read through the full thing since it was posted during the session. I will give everybody about a minute to do that, and then I will begin our debate and take whoever would like to speak onto the speakers list. So let's take a minute to read. All right. So I am going to give us all about 20 seconds, and then I'm going to let Girl Fell Coded speak. All right, Girl Fell Coded, you were recognized for 2 minutes.
Though this does look like a poor bill on the surface, it should be remembered that this is the second part of a two-part bill. The first part amended the Constitution, and the second part just fixes the laws that are now uh, redundant with the amendment to the Constitution. Given that the amendment to the Constitution has already passed, both the House and Senate, and has been signed by the President, we do not need to worry about whether or not this bill will cause any issues. Um, this is just essentially a quality of it's a quality of life bill, really. It doesn't do much except fix the law in the places that were now made redundant by the first part being passed. And to that end, I think it is a pretty inoffensive addition. Well, it's a pretty inoffensive act, and I think we should die it. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Skasani, you are. I forget if I'm pronouncing the right syllable with emphasis, but you're recognized to speak anyway for 2 minutes. One of the important things in this, other than finally passing the second part to the first bill, is properly defining a leave of absence in the law, which is very important as it's currently a bit of an unofficial thing, she says. That is all. Just wanted to really highlight that section. I yield my time back to the speaker. Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on this bill? Seeing none, I'm going to yield to myself, and then I'm going to let Zelost finish off. Yeah, the bill, there's a few small formatting issues which will probably get fixed before this actually gets put to a vote, like a reason section inside of the amendment portion. But substantially talking about it, it looks like we're sort of just defining LOAs, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. I have yet to see basically all of the amendments lining up properly. Like there's a few formatting issues, but in general, I'm supportive. I'm going to yield to Zelos now for 2 minutes, and then after that, the debate on this bill will be closed. Zelos, you are recognized for 2 minutes. Your time begins now. Zelos says the re-proposal of this bill also includes a solution to the problem that Gribble 19 pointed out in her motion to amend. It should hopefully help this bill pass the Senate this time. That's all. Thank you, Zelost. And with that, I will then be concluding debate on the Dereliction Fix Part 2 Act. We are currently We are currently 22 minutes past the hour. Gives us a little bit of time since I initially had budgeted 2 hours for this. So I am. Oh, did we lose a quorum? Okay, Girlfriend Code is still here, just not on the floor. Okay, we're barely at a quorum, but I am gonna then open up for open debate for a little bit, so people are free to speak and float ideas, and say what they'd like. I am going to open it up, see if there's any other urgent issues that have come up or anything that people would just like to speak about. So we have an open floor. Anybody who'd like to speak, let me know. Any representatives who would like to speak, let me know. Should we add nap time to house sessions? This is a good question. Smami, I will recognize you for 2 minutes on this topic. Smami says, I'm sleepy and would like to take a nap, that's all, and yields back. Thank you, Smami. I do want to bring up the whole issue we had with the elections. We recently have 2 new reps who were elected, and congratulations to Rookie Blue 14 and Nova Kerbal for their election victory. There was an issue with the Geyser MC plugin, which basically broke Bedrocker's ability to log in. I know there has been some people who have been very upset because this effectively denied them the ability to vote. And we don't really have a good alternative system because any in-game system we propose does not let them vote if they can't log into the game. There's been some anger directed toward the Department of State, some anger directed toward the staff team, some just frustration all around. I think that they are right to be annoyed. The current system that we have in place for an electoral emergency is that we return to pre-2024 block voting. That is what the law says. So I do think we probably want to address that. I don't think the DOS knows how to pull off block voting. Most of the people who are in its leadership and most electoral officers, that was well before their time, but it is currently the emergency provision. So I would encourage us all to think about different emergency provisions that can use the forums, because they cannot technically support STV. So that is something I'd like to float. I do want a brainstorming session on this. Whether we want this here or whether we want this in house chat or something is up to you all, but I do think we'll probably want to amend the Electoral Act to provide for some contingencies here. I saw that 3 people wanted to talk about this in order. First was Scassini, then Smami, and then Nova Kerbal. So, Scass here, you've got 2 minutes. I would be changing topic, so I will yield until then. Thank you. Smami, you're recognized for 2 minutes. You did request time. You said you would like to speak. I cannot read. Never mind. Nova Kerbal, you were recognized for 2 minutes. Nova Kerbal says hello. So before this started, I proposed in Congress chat this form of amendment, and I was looking for interested reps to assist me in writing it. That is all I have to say. Yielding time back to you, Multi. Thank you. Nova Kerbal. So anybody who would like to get on helping with that, please reach out to Nova. All right, moving on to, I don't think anybody else wanted to speak on this topic, unless you did, because my chat has been flooded with people welcoming somebody named Matthew. So I would have lost your message. On that note, the person who I recall is next on the list is Scass, so please feel free to use 2 minutes. Your time begins now. She says, I would like to bring up the topic of the current process regarding the discussion of bills before they are put up for a vote. Currently, many of our bills are either left with zero comments before posting, or are filled with irrelevant discussions and unproductive yet heated arguments. The most recent example of this was with the Town Rights Amendment Act, which has had hundreds of messages and nothing changed. I was wondering if people would like to be interested in a more structured debate system for bills. I yield my time back to the speaker, or if anyone else would like to comment or additions to that. Garfield Coded said that this is true and that she would be interested. Anybody else like to speak? Actually, yes, Garfield Coded, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
So I do think that this is an issue. I hadn't really thought much about it until Skasani brought it up, but yeah, the current way of discussing bills that are yet to reach the floor is less than ideal. The Town Rights Amendment Act suffered greatly from this, where arguments for and against the bill were completely drowned out by arguing nonsense. It as someone who is interested in trying to find the ways that a bill can be used to hurt people whereas it's just trying to help, it is important that I be able to hear both sides of the argument, but when chats are flooded with people calling each other names, it makes that incredibly difficult. I think our current system of evaluating bills publicly before they hit the floor is incredibly flawed. I still think we should evaluate them before they hit the floor, just so people can have some time to digest their feelings about it before being forced to vote on it. But the current way that it is discussed about makes it incredibly difficult to have genuine constructive discussion and instead promotes calling the author of the bill a moron. And yeah, it's incredibly unhelpful. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. I'm going to use my prerogative to grant myself speaking here. I think that the way that our bill structure system works is good for public comment because the public can't really look into our internal thoughts and certainly can't look inside of my head, right? And the only way that I'm able to get public comment is if I post the bill first. There have been some randomly heated arguments over minute details or people who get really frustrated about something they want to nitpick and then get very angry and it turns into a very heated discussion where the actual difference in substance is minimal at best, or rather minimal at most. This does happen. The only thing I could think of here is if we created like a public comment period, which is essentially the 24-hour window that we have, and then also a debate period separate from that public comment period. This would require a revision to the LSA, probably, and then also a revision to the House standing rules. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think that it would be interesting to have maybe a required 24-hour debate period where before a bill goes to a vote, speaker notifies the House that debate has opened, and then the debate is publicly recorded, but only writable to House members. And this way, we could, and during that time, we'd be able to propose amendments before it goes to the floor. Something along those lines would be interesting. That's kind of how the Congress works anyway. So like IRL, and it would probably prevent a lot of random heat from coming up during voting. So I'd support something vaguely like that, but we need to figure out exactly what the phrasing is. But in principle, yes. The one thing, though, I don't know that we'll be able to get this done before we hit caretaker, because caretaker hits in about a week. So that's my concern. But as to the substance, I'm fairly supportive. Anybody else like to speak? For on anything? Sounds good. I am going to then see nothing else. Nobody else has like anything to do or to say. My belief here is that this has been a productive Congress. I'm going to use some time to thank a bunch of people and pontificate and whatever, but give my sort of end of Congress spiel before we move into our campaigning period and our caretaker. So thank you all for coming. This has been the second in-game session this Congress. This Congress has been productive. It's mostly been pretty civil within the House. There hasn't been those sorts of blow-ups or hyper partisanship that have been features of previous House sessions. So I do thank you for that. We had a presidential election. People kept their heads relatively cool. And I'm very happy that we have been able to work together productively. I would like to thank a few people. So Pepe, for the first half of this House term, Pepe Q was a very helpful clerk. Basically couldn't do it without her. When she became the president, we did lose somebody who was quite important. And so I am very thankful for the time that she's putting in and has put in. I'm very sad to see that she's left, but obviously I can't be upset that a clerk has left for the president. I will refuse to allow Pepe to downplay her role. I am very also glad that we have AC back, that we have Alyssa Crin as a clerk. I think these two are very competent people and will help fill those shoes. To Casey LaFay, also somebody who has been very helpful behind the scenes, even if she is not necessarily as publicly present anymore. She has been very helpful. To a few others, to the current Deputy Speaker, Talion, who is not here. Thank you for helping to put up some bills and to helping fill some shoes. To Real Imza, who was very helpful behind the scenes and just keeping things on track and focused during the time that Imza was the Deputy Speaker. So thank you for the work that you did. I'm sad that you left the way you did. I didn't quite see it coming, and had I seen it coming, I would have tried to stop you. But I do think that you deserve a lot of credit for what you did. To Girl Folk Coded, for helping to propose bills and always being somebody good to bounce ideas off of. Thank you. To Scassini for also being the same and for helping to co-sponsor a lot of my bills. Thank you, and also for various other things which I don't think I should be pontificating about here because they involve partisanship. Girl Folk Coded is threatening to explode me if I bounce bill ideas off of her. Well, that's lovely. Yeah, and for some others, generally, Smami for always commenting on bills, or basically always commenting on bills. It's refreshing to see that level of transparency. To Vernicia for also being someone to help bounce ideas off of and help co-sponsor bills. To Anthony Org, who is no longer here, for sort of bringing a different perspective and different ideas in. I'm going to miss somebody and I'm going to feel bad. But yeah, And then obviously there's the sort of elephant in the room, which is that I started a new party with 3 of the current reps. So thank you all for those of you who joined it. I'm looking forward to what we can achieve both the remainder of the Congress and in the next term. So I do think that we have a new dawn here, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes with us on the sunrise. So thank you all for coming. And with that, I am going to close this session. So this in-game session is now closed. Thank you all for coming, and please make your way to the exit without shooting up the room this time. Bye for now.